guys, as far as injuries are concerned, Kyron, Cam Kitchens, and Omar Spates will be limited. Devontae with his hamstring will be a DNP. Darius, a little bit of a tibia is kind of bothering him, so he'll be a DNP. And then Puna Ford with his calf will be a DNP. You guys go ahead. I do. You know, we haven't gone down that road yet, you know, but there are some number of things like what we've talked about. We got a lot of love for him and what he's done and how he's handled it, and it's just kind of been a unique set of circumstances relative to the timing and figuring out how you get, 48 guys up and kind of being able to balance that out relative to how many on offense, how many on defense. Obviously, you're 3 specialists, and so that's not something that, we've explored or really, thought it's a possibility, but you never know.
So what do you see when you look at the Cardinals right now?
Yeah, I see, a really tough football team, a team that we're very familiar with. They're really well coached. They got good personnel all over the place. I think they're really sound schematically. They pose a lot of issues on both sides of the football. They've obviously always been really good in the kicking game, had continuity at the coordinator spot, and so a lot of respect for this group. I think if you look at the record, you're kidding yourself, because this is a team really outside of the Seattle game and the San Francisco game. Every one of those games they've been in, and it's been right down to the wire in one possession games, and so we got a tremendous amount of respect for this group, and we got to be ready to go for sure. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, he'll stand tall in the pocket, he'll move around, he can still buy time with his legs, and he can activate all parts of the field. And he's a hard tackle. He's obviously very experienced. You can see there's a comfort in terms of reading with his feet, getting through progressions, recognizing coverage. Just got great overall command. Really impressed with his body of work. You've seen there's a lot of production from the numbers, but then once you start to dive into the tape, he's playing at a really high clip, doing an excellent job of getting a lot of different people involved, and and they're pushing the ball. And he does he poses a lot of problems. Been very impressed with his body of work.
In reviewing the game tape and the delay of game penalty, was that an early whistle?
They blew the whistle. I'm on, to quote Coach Belichick, we're on to the Cardinals. So,
but I mean, was it close?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, that's how I felt. Because the way that it's articulated is that when you look at it, it's really a 41-second play clock, or 26 out of a clock stoppage, because you look at the clock, once it hits 0, then your eyes flash to the formation. If the ball's not snapped, then you blow the whistle. And so, again, that's not my decision to make, but that's, I do understand that's how it's officiated, or being taught to be officiated. And so, whatever I think, it doesn't matter. We got the delay, and it moved us back, and we'll learn from it. And like anything else, every experience is a great opportunity, whether it be good or bad, for us to be able to say, okay, how can we control what we can control relative to not letting it get so close down to that, and not taking a penalty in that situation, and that'll be a great learning opportunity for all of us collectively.
In terms of the number 1 seed, how much, if at all, do you track that?
I don't track it in the least bit.
Well, how important is it?
It's not important to me at all. What's important to me is us being totally and completely present today. I think we're not even in, we have no guarantee to play past 17 games. And so the only thing that I know and that I fully believe is that our ability to be totally and completely present, have a great Wednesday, and put ourselves in a position to earn the right to feel confident, to be able to go for it against the Cardinals. But there was a lot of good things that, we can learn from that game, whether we win or lose. But, when you come up short, I think it's a great opportunity for us to be what we want to be about. And that is the furthest thing. Our goal is to try to prepare to go try to get the result we want week in and week out. And those other things take care of itself. But that is not in the least bit of my concern. I want us to get back to playing better quality football that we've been accustomed to seeing that we didn't do the other day.
When you look back at the
here's what I would say. The significance is that it's an awesome opportunity to be able to even earn the right to play extra football. I wouldn't say because we were in those environments is why we lost. I was really pleased with how we handled both of those. We just came up short, and we played 2 excellent football teams in the Lions and the Eagles, where it just didn't go down for us. Would we love to be able to be at home? Yeah, but again, that is so far from my thinking, and the fact that we lost on the road in the playoffs the last 2 years, I don't think being on the road had anything to do with us coming up.
Sean, when you look back at the game, how well the run game played, do you kind of wish you'd leaned on it more, or did you like kind of the way that you split that up?
We played pretty good. I mean, we punted one time with the sequence, but I thought, we moved the ball. We had 5 third downs the whole game. I don't think I've ever been a part of a game where you have so few third downs, and a couple of those were in the red zone. So I thought our guys did an excellent job of executing really whatever it was. It was just unfortunate because those turnovers, 2 of them in the tight red area and then 1 of them that goes the other way. But, we were moving the ball, only punted 1 time. And so you look at it and you say, man, I thought our guys did a great job executing it. As a play caller, you always look back and you say, hey, what can you do a better job of? But, I thought for the most part, we collectively, ultimately it's about the players bringing it to life. I thought they did a great job. I didn't think there was other opportunities really that I'd say, I wish I had run it more there, because we were still moving the ball in those other drives. The one drive that we did punt, what I will say is we had a good 5-yard run on first down. Then on a 2nd and 5, they did a good job of bringing a blitz where Matthew ended up being hot. We took a sack that got us to the 3rd and 13. That's one of those where you say, hey, tip of the cap to you, Mijero. I didn't do a good job putting our guys in the right spot there, and that one chaps my ass to no end. But for the most part, in terms of like the run-pass balance, felt like our guys did a great job executing whatever we had kind of called. And I thought I was really pleased with the run game, the way that we were able to strain and finish. And I thought both Kyron and Blake ran really well.
Sean, because that game was so much dictated by the turnovers, coach turnovers, or did you just say that happened and?
Oh, you're aware of it, yeah. I mean, we coach attacking for the football and ball security. I mean, those are 2 of the most important things. And when you really look at it, other than points, you're talking about turnovers and explosives, and that's taking the ball away, taking care of it, or that's creating explosives or preventing them from a defensive perspective. And so we talk about that stuff all the time. But for our guys to even give themselves a chance to be in that game, when you lose the turnover battle 3-0, and one of them goes for a pick 6, and 2 of those, the other 2 were in the tight red area where you're in scoring position. I think it's a tremendous credit to their resilience, but absolutely we talk about that stuff all the time.
But moving forward, is that just talk about last week? How do you?
Yeah, you emphasize it, and really, like, you look at it and you say, okay, the first one, sometimes those are unfortunate occupational hazards of, you get a tip ball right there, and, there's not a lot that you can do right there. But then the next 2, absolutely you talk about what are the things that we could do to prevent maybe turning the football over, whether it's the interception or the fumble, and we always talk about, ball security is all 11, and so those are the things that we discuss, on a daily basis.
A couple more guys.
Yeah. Well, the next game, we were playing from behind, ended up finding a way to pull out our first win of the season against a division opponent. But, they did a great job. I mean, Kyler made some unbelievable plays. Obviously, Harrison made his, and then they were able to get the run game going. I thought they did a really good job offensively, and then defensively, you start off where you drop a 3rd down, you end up not converting on a 4th down, and we end up trying to throw a little perimeter screen, and things just kind of avalanched on us quickly. But very humbling day. Those are one of those days that was challenging, but I've always loved the resolve and the responses of this group. That's all we can control. But I think if anything, there's a ton of respect for this group that we're going against, and we understand that, and last year serves as a good reminder for sure.
Coach, one of the things that you said after your post-game presser was this adversity will bring us together, make us tighter. How do you try to help, especially the young guys, but even you as a coach, try to recalibrate and reframe the loss?
Well, I think what you do is you acknowledge, hey, I don't like the way this feels, all right, but then, all right, let's take a step back and let's say, how do we channel that in a direction that moves us forward? I think, part of being mentally tough is acknowledging, I don't like where I'm at. Now I have the awareness to be able to address it and then act accordingly. That's why we talk about all the time. We want to respond, not react. And so you acknowledge the things that we can all do collectively better. But I think that, whether you want to admit it or not, no matter the most disciplined person, there is a heightened sense of urgency and awareness when you end up coming up short like what we did. let's just say we ended up scoring and ended up winning that game, the game would have still gone down very similarly with, you know, the 150 plus other plays. There wasn't even that many. There wasn't that many snaps in the game. But the bottom line is that, you know, we try to be consistent with it. But there is something about when you have the right kinds of groups that can handle a setback, you can use it as a setup for a comeback. And I talk exactly like what I'm talking to you, you know, to them about it. And maybe I'm a little bit more candid. And maybe I have a couple more curse words in there too. So.
Do divisional games feel different for you as a coach?
No, every single game feels the same, but there's a familiarity, you know, because there's been continuity with Coach Gannon, you know, and their coordinators, and so, you know, there's a familiarity tactically and schematically that you go back and you draw on just because, all right, what have they done to us? What have we done to them? So maybe, you know, just because there's a little bit more familiarity, you know, that changes your approach, but there's certain teams that we've kind of become accustomed to playing. You know, whether it's some of these other teams and some of the other divisions in our conference, but it doesn't really change. Every single game is very important to me where, man, you are grateful as hell when you come away with that result, and when you don't, it just crushes you.
So,
Last one, Gil.
Sean, I know you're just focused on this week. You're not in the playoffs, but you got to the Super Bowl in 2018
Yeah.
with a bye. You had a bye. 21, you didn't. Do you have, when you think back, what was the better road for you guys, and do you have a preference?
I think the 21 road, we won the Super Bowl that year, didn't we? I mean, we lost it. You want to bring up that we only scored 3 points in that 18?
No, in terms of the run through the playoffs.
No, here's what I would say. I don't think I know this. Here's what I can tell you, and this is so, you know, I am not. I can't even contextualize enough to be able to just say I am focused on trying to be totally present, and no doubt about it, every game that we play, we go in there with the intentions to try to win the game. And so if you said, would I be happier if we ended up being able to be in a position where that means we won more games that maybe gave you a chance to get an automatic bid to the divisional round? Yeah, of course, but I really promise you, and I mean this wholeheartedly, and I think you know that from us, you know, being connected for 9 years now, I don't think about those things, and last week serves as a phenomenal reminder of, man, you get all ahead of yourself, we won't even be in the playoffs if we're not careful, you know. And so that's where none of that matters to me at all. My sole focus and concentration is the amount of respect that we have for the Cardinals, trying to make sure that our players feel as clear and as confident going into this game to be able to courageously go for it, and I'm hoping that leads to us getting our 10th win. And then after that, we'll focus on what's next. And that really, I think that has served us well, you know, in all seriousness, because, you know, you say it and it's the coaching cliche, but it's easy to say, hard to do. But if you can be totally present and not allow the things that make this game so popular, and it's such a blessing, but like that has zero impact on what we want to do on a daily basis. And I do feel like it's important for us as coaches to try to fight some of those narratives so that our players can be as locked in on the moment, because those are the only things that we can control. And I think we've got a group that can do that, but you try to fight like hell to make sure that those other things are irrelevant, because they really are, until those conversations become pertinent, if that's what is at stake given that given week. Okay? Thank you, guys.